To me.
Are we going?
Yeah.
To me. Oh, that is crispy.
Welcome to Crispy Town.
Mm.
Season 1, episode 3. Lowercase I, uppercase T, colon. Welcome to Derry.
Yes.
We watched it.
We did.
We enjoyed it.
We did. I'm hesitating a little bit because I thought it was my least favorite ep of the season.
Okay.
So I have just launched into it. I thought it was my least favorite ep of the season. A lot of that has to do with the ending, which we're probably not at that point. But for me, this one was...
a little Stranger Things and a little less It.
Yes.
That's fair.
Very much so.
Well, what I found most interesting, and this is the first time that an episode about the Army stuff interested me. So far, we've talked about the storyline in episode 1 and episode 2 and how it's the least strong storyline.
I don't remember being interested in it, so I'll ask you to speak on that.
Well, we had some moments where even though they had found some recent history with the car that they pulled up with some historical inaccuracies, if you will. It had apparently been buried longer than it possibly could have. And it was used during a giant robbery that they said was Dillinger Boy-esque in the town, and the townsmen just kind of shot him up, and so there was a big old giant shoot 'em up. And then apparently this car just got buried during that event. I don't know how that really works out. But they're not any closer to finding the thing that they're looking for.
There was nothing about the car itself. They took the car apart and didn't find anything. You're talking contextual clues but there was nothing in the car itself that led them to any new spot.
No, and they said even though we found this new thing, we're not any closer to what we're looking for.
We're on the right track because this is strange. However, no clues to help us better understand it.
Yep. And so typical to all situations with the military or CEOs of large corporations, when they don't find results, they say, get me results faster.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, their solution was to send our shining member out on a helicopter and use him like a compass.
Not just any helicopter, but apparently 3 helicopters taped together.
Huey. That I found, and I commented while we were watching, it was hilarious that they have one person in the back of this helicopter, and they choose
2 in the pilot seats.
2 pilots. One of them, I assume, a co-pilot. And they're like, we're going to go fly this guy wherever he tells us to fly. And which one of these vehicles on the base do you think could fit 3 of us? And then they were like, that one. The one that carries tanks and other large vehicles. We'll just put this guy in the back and you and I will sit in the front seats. So I thought that was a little ridiculous because unless they thought they were going to pick something up out there, it definitely made for good scenery for the scene that we're coming up to. But it didn't really make a whole lot of logistical sense. But, I'm willing to say that every once in a while the military does make some decisions that are not always logistical and sometimes, just for fun. It is a bunch of boys out there doing boy stuff.
But that's sort of the issue with the larger plot, isn't it?
There's a little bit. They're spending a lot of money on this project with not a lot of results.
Just even from a writing perspective, it is all... for the sake of the scene of the shot, and it doesn't really make much sense upon closer examination.
And we're pretty sure that the larger military above this doesn't really know what this project is, because as we know, once you leave Derry, you just kind of forget everything. So I have a feeling this project kind of kicked off again when this guy came back. And then kind of things got going.
I kind of got the sense that he was sent back for the project, not that he went back and then made project.
That only makes sense if our guy in The Shining led this project from the get-go, which doesn't make any... Again, these are some plot holes.
See, that's what I'm saying. I
Now, again, I'm not saying that it's the best storyline. I'm just saying for the first time I was actually interested in what was going on, because we did have a pretty exciting scene where they're in the helicopter and our guy, why have I not written down his name still? Who's the guy from The Shining?
Hallerman. Am I doing that right? Hallerman?
No, Halloran is
Halloran.
That's the brothers. No, you're right.
Yeah, Halleran.
You're right.
He's in the back getting his
He's in the back getting his visions,
mappings.
somehow talking to them in the front without a headset on, which also major plot hole, because you can't say a goddamn word on a helicopter to another person without the most gigantic noise canceling headphones you've ever seen.
Because of all the signs that say, please be quiet.
Yes, because shh. And they kind of go off, and at some point, once he starts getting closer, and he's, of course, holding this item, which we'll get back to, this slingshot, he gets kind of transported down to the closest connection to the original films we've seen, which is down in the sewer in that big pile. We see Pennywise's trailer, his old-timey Pinocchio trailer that the side pops down and creates a stage out of. Does it show up at this point?
I don't think so.
I think he just kind of runs away and tries to get out of there. He is talking to him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's his grandma that shows up. His grandma or mother who shows up and starts saying, basically, this is all, like, we're all screwed. I don't know what you're doing. Get out of here. Which I guess is it saying run away, which would make me think that it doesn't want him there, which is antithesis, I think, to why would it have any sort of fear of this guy? But this obviously scares Dick Halloran a lot, because it was not supposed to see him coming, and it clearly has. And he goes on to warn the general who's running this whole project that maybe we should just leave this alone, and the general does what white people do whenever you're messing with the supernatural, and they go, let's check out the noise. And he says, get some good sleep, and
you gotta see.
Keep on keeping
You gotta
on.
take a look.
Yep.
I found this part frustrating because we were talking about it last week about how the army thing doesn't make sense within the larger It storyline.
Yes.
Because of specific reasons, like you leave Derry and you forget about it. Like,
right.
For example, it's focused on children. It's just Bed Bath & Beyond, the story that Stephen King has been telling. And I'm open to the idea that we're going to bring that into the larger storyline and make it a bigger thing than it has been. But you need to have answers to these fundamental questions. And what bothered me about this plot line in this episode is that they raised some of those. So they knew you would. They were in the writer's room going, what about this? And then they did like one line about how you shouldn't worry about it.
He does. What was the line about not worrying about it?
I'm just talking about like, for example, we find out that what does the army think that they are looking for? It turns out they have a fairly good understanding of it.
That is
based on our understanding of it.
Which is weird, because it's not like they retconned it, because the general talks about when he was there as a kid and how he forgot everything until he's back.
That was another.
So they're like, hey, we are within this ethos still. When people leave Derry, they forget what happened in Derry. I've been rereading the novel, and it's interesting because they very much talk about how you forget things, and there's also some the scenes where the gay couple has like that kind of kicks off this latest era of things that happened in the current timeline of the book,
which is in the setting that we see at the very start of 1.1, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reminiscent things to when we saw those kids beat up that other kid, where all the adults just kind of go, whatever, like this is just normal everyday stuff. And that's kind of interesting that they bring this up, and they're still kind of following the same timeline or the same mythos that you forget things when you leave Derry, but it's clear that something in the Army somehow knows about this project, and they're not, and I don't understand how they do it outside of it unless
Right.
But unless it's Dick Halloran and unless it's some other people with the shine that somehow remember this. But if we're
well, then allude to that or hint at it. Make it some sort of mystery. Not it feels in the writing, it's just a giant plot hole.
It is.
It is not a mystery that we need to understand. It's just, from what we have in the episode, it's something that the writers forgot about. Somebody raised at the 11th hour, and they said, okay, let me change a couple of lines so we can fit some stuff in. And yada, yada, yada. Now we've got a bingo.
And I will say what I'm missing, what I'll like to push on that same point and not to give it any more forgiveness is all the kids are supposed to have the shine. That's supposed to be their thing. And the only way that they remember is when they're in town. So there's no just like explanation for outside of the town how you don't forget. So I am still waiting for a full explanation there. I don't think we're going to get it unless somehow we drag one of the writers into our basement, yours or mine, whichever, or maybe a neutral basement location.
Sure.
And
this basement has already seen enough bloodshed.
Shine the spotlight on them and go, explain. So we'll have to dig into that more. But no, I agree.
It's like playing chess with my youngest. It's just every 5 minutes we forget the rules and just do whatever we want.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is I was enjoying the Army characters and the story that was happening there. I enjoyed that Dick Halloran's trying to get some better conditions for him and his buddies where they play poker. I enjoy this. I enjoy the same thing I loved about Turning of the Screw, the Netflix version, when we were watching them, where you have to constantly remind yourself that this is a horror. Because you get caught up in the
the Henry James novella.
You get caught up in the family stuff, and I got caught up in the Army stuff going on as just this other story that was unrelated to it. Now, we can break this episode into 3 pieces. That's one. The first piece is the general's past, which
before you go there, can I say a nice thing about the Army storyline?
Yes.
I'm enjoying Dick Halloran's performance.
It's tremendous.
I like the actor that they've got going. I think he's given a very good version of Dick Halloran, based on what we know from the novel, and also, of course, I think most importantly from The Shining. I'm enjoying his performance specifically.
He also had 2 tremendous performance areas in this episode, and one of them was when he was talking to Hanlon's wife.
Mm-hmm.
At the table was
dinner.
tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other performance was him explaining that when he tried to read the dude's mind, he's like, it's messed up. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be on your bad side. I don't want anything to do with this. And that was good. 2 very good performances that I think were very key to all of his parts, and what I assume is going to become a bigger role, which is Captain Hanlon's wife, who I think is going to play a little bit more of the something is odd here.
Mm-hmm.
Something odd is going on, and obviously Dick knows that there's something odd going on, but can't really talk about what's odd going on.
And he's playing that well.
Yes.
With the amount that he feels like he can share and not share with the different audiences, you really pick up from the performance. You pick up on what he thinks he's supposed to be in front of his superiors, in front of Hamlin, in front of these different audiences. I think it's a strong performance.
Also, I love that his character is constantly playing this casual, headstrong, not afraid of any character, when you can tell in the background he's just scared shitless of everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's
constantly
a big part of what I'm referring to. Yes, but you wanted to go back in the past.
I want to go in the past because I want to talk about the least probably best part of the episode, which is the kids in this episode, and the best part, which happened so early in this episode, it made me forget about it until now, which is that the episode kicks off with our general, I'm assuming he's a general, as a kid. We don't know that's who this is. And he is hanging out at a fair, and he has a scary run-in with
A carnival.
a carnival.
Yeah.
And he goes into the tent of horrors and gets absolutely terrified by what a creepy old man, basically, who tells him to come forward and scares him off, who we kind of assume is some sort of form of it, but that's not necessarily true. They may just be using that because they use that nightmare later.
I think it was just in the carnival, you've got scary people, and this one happened to be scary because A, it's too old, and B, it doesn't have as many eyeballs as you normally have.
And in the background of the carnival is definitely a clown, who we assume is it, though it's an early version.
I think that's
of
just
him.
an illusion, though. There's going to be clowns at a carnival.
Yeah, but this carnival is clearly happening in Derry, and this
Carnivals travel. They go all over the place. They go
think-
to Derry and they go to not Derry.
Yeah, but I think this clown is very much an allusion to it. Like, I think this is an early form of him. I said him. It's a her. We've discussed this before. The creature that is
Stay
it
woke.
is a her. Stay
Please,
woke.
Stay woke.
Um,
Anyway, he goes to the carnival. He gets scared. He gets a slingshot. He leaves the carnival.
his father wins him a slingshot. They leave the carnival. He has to get some water when the car's broken down, because cars do that in the 1920s, I assume this is happening.
Car guy to car guy. They used to be less reliable.
It didn't work that well.
Right.
And, of course, his father, being all that is man of the 20s, gets out to fix the car while he runs off and gets water from this random Native American water stand that's just on the side of the road.
What's the foot traffic? Feet per hour for that little stand.
1.
Yeah. That's kind of the impression that I got.
It didn't make a whole... maybe it's the equivalent of like a lemonade stand now, where you're like, these kids have no... Like, they just put it up in front of your house, and they don't realize that that's probably not the optimal location because you don't live on a busy street. But he does try and buy some water. It's too expensive, so he trades his...
It was 2 cents, or it was a nickel, and he only had 2 cents.
Yeah. And then we get this montage of him playing with this Native American woman, which they make a little confusing because it almost seems like that happens while his dad is fixing the car. But do you know what I mean? Like, the cutaway's kind of weird when they kind of clear it up, but this does not all happen then. Obviously, his father's been stationed here. They drop by the carnival on the way into town. This scare happens. He goes to buy water. He trades his slingshot for the water because he doesn't have enough money. His father kind of gets upset as they drive away. And then this summer of hanging out with...
And it was just one summer that they're hanging out, right? Him and this girl who's Native American and all of their friends. By the end of the montage, though, he seemed visibly older.
He did seem a little bit older.
I thought it was one summer, but then he looks like he's aged 3 years for some reason.
I'm pretty sure it was just one summer.
I don't know. That
part was
confusing
go back and
to
watch
me.
that to like.
That part was a little confusing.
It definitely could have been. But he falls in love with this girl, basically, like kids do. She gives him the slingshot back as like a "don't forget me." He says, "Promise to never forget me, and I'll never forget you." And she says, "Well, hate to break this to you, but this town has a way of making people forget." And he just kind of, I guess, understands that. He doesn't question it, which is kind of cool. He's just kind of hurt by that fact. But that is the reality of Derry. So they bring it up again. During their playtime in the summer, he makes the mistake of running into the woods.
This is pretty early on, I believe.
Yeah. And she warns him. She tries to yell at him not to go into the woods. He ends up going into the woods. And while he's in the woods, he finds that old man that was in the freak show. Which, again, I guess it doesn't really matter whether that was it or wasn't. But they use that horror to try and scare him. He gets super scared like you do, tries to run away. He's about to get eaten when his slingshot buddy slingshots the dude in the face. That distracts him, I guess, long enough. They make it out of the woods, and it apparently can't follow them out of the woods, which I don't know if that has anything to do with any else of the lore that is.
Yeah, I don't know why the woods would be.
Maybe
a
that's like the
boundary there.
county line.
This was the creepiest part of the ep.
Yes, but that's what I was saying. It was but because you and I were talking about this ep and saying it was not that scary, and then because I think we had completely forgotten about this whole first part. Because the way the dude,
we're really when I say that, I'm really talking about the set piece at the end.
So the old dude does this crazy, creepy, break your body down into running like a dog type thing. It's a good chase scene. It's a great spook. The old man who played the old man was tremendous. No notes. Loved that part.
I hope I'm that flexible and mobile when I'm 80 or whatever.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
And your like mouth opens up and does sharp teeth and all.
I hope I have that too. Yeah. And I hope I get to be outside and enjoy the fresh air.
And then we get this like montage screen where they show us that this woman still lives in the town and this gentleman is the general. And so they have another run in. It's not that important. It's brief, but all we know is that he once again stresses that he forgot everything until he got back into town.
And he's starting to remember.
Some things. Remembered who she was because her name was on a petition for them to cease and desist their digging.
Right. He and the army are digging on her and her people's.
And he straight up lies to her and says, "We're doing it for water. We're trying to build water,"
which is not true. So that's a conflict that will come up later. The opposite of the Holleran performance, I don't care for the general's performance. I don't care for
I know you hate this actor.
I mentioned this when we were I think I've seen him most as Dexter's dad.
Yeah.
And in that show, I think this was part of the character that he was playing. It was very one note. It was always he's coming in as essentially Dexter's conscious and saying, "Hey, you might not want to do that. Think about this?" And it was always very one-note character for me in that show, and now he seems to be playing that character.
He has a way of delivering lines that does seem to be... What's interesting to me about him is the delivery I always get from him is he's a dad scolding me about something, but I can't tell if he's going to be warm, understanding dad, or if he's going to be about to hit you with a leather belt dad. Like that.
He's not going to raise his voice, but he's going to do one of those two things. Yes,
he seems like that performance.
And I would just love for him to show me any other
yell about something once,
anytime
raise his voice
on the screen. Maybe he's a wonderful Broadway actor that is. I have no idea. The stuff that I've seen him,
he's in a lot of things.
Very much the same type of performance.
So the end of the ep and the main storyline is the kids, of course. The Lily shows them Lily meets up with Ronnie, apologizes to Ronnie, makes up with her. She's apparently already finished her stint at the loony bin, which I thought we were going to get some extensive time in the loony bin, but maybe we'll get back to it. But it seems like things just went fine for her, and she's better, which is a little weird. And then they, of course, bring in our new kid into town and his new buddy, and they form a bike gang with impressively good headlights for that era, which we talked about. And they devise a plan where they're going to take a picture of it, which is the funniest part to me is the first thing they do. They're like, the first problem we need to solve is we're going to need to develop the photo. They don't want to start with how they're going to take a photo of it. They just want to start with, we need to figure, if we take this photo, we need to be able to develop it on our own. So that's where the nerd comes in, our new kid into town, because he understands chemicals, which we talked about with his love of... Where are you going, Cap?
Yeah, it does seem like you could just give the photos to somebody to develop them. Because that's sort of...
Or just, that's the problem.
What they do.
Let's do this one by one. First problem, do we have a camera?
They
Check.
did. Yeah, they had the camera.
Do we have film? Check.
Yes.
Do we have a flash? Because we're probably going to do this at night. Check. Okay, light
is not a problem.
Can we take a picture of this character? Don't know that one yet. Maybe cross that bridge, then get to let's develop this. But alas, we have to introduce our new character to the gang. Our Cuban?
I think so. I think it's Cuban.
Kid talks about how his uncle and his nephew and his cousin and a different character, how they can create a seance. So they go to the graveyard and start to do a seance, which obviously they quickly realize he's full of shit and doesn't actually know anything about doing seances. And as the two ladies, Ronnie and Lily, decide to leave because they're upset and mad, that's when it decides to strike. And they do it by bringing up the bodies of the children that died in the movie theater and chase them. This was the most Casper moment of the entire show so far. Like, there was nothing scary about the kids chasing
Casper, Stranger Things. It was not scary. It didn't look good. It was very cartoonish.
There's a little fun to the action of it, right? Because it was a good chase scene. A lot happened. There was the camera bouncing into different positions and everybody trying to get it. The closest to the scary moment I think we got was when the kid crashes basically into that, or falls into that mausoleum, if you will. And we think something's going to happen there, but then nothing happens there. He just kind of runs away. They all make it out. Apparently, you just need to cross the line, the threshold of the graveyard, and it can't follow you, which makes me. I assume that's an illusion, or they're alliterating to earlier in the episode where they get out of the woods and it can't follow you, and so there is some sort of weird mystic line that our creature can't cross.
Yeah, it's not really clear.
It is not. But they did successfully take some photos, and somehow this camera works at taking pictures of poltergeists. This, again, I don't know, it's so weird to me. Like the photos of ghosts. I guess I just don't know how these kids all of a sudden got this, and this. It just seems like it's not such a crazy plan that they're so special that they would be able to pull off in this. Why aren't there other pictures of ghosts, I guess, at this point? Like, if cameras take pictures of ghosts.
Well, I'm not sure there's a ton of hauntings.
That's fair.
I think it is kind of picking on these little buggers.
Yeah.
So there's not that many people who would come up with this idea. These ones do, and they take the pictures, and the pictures are, by and large, they seem very pleased with them. I thought they looked stupid, with one exception.
They developed quite a few photos. Most of them were of the ghosts chasing them, which I guess in a pre-Photoshop world, you could just write off as did you really dig up dead bodies and take photos of them?
It looks like somebody had their laundry out on the line. And
yeah.
They rode a bike through it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It was very cartoony.
It was extremely cartoony.
And then the last photo, however, that shows kind of Pennywise in the background in a very grainy shot was the creepy moment of the ep in my mind. That was a creepy photo, and it did exit the episode. It ended the episode. And it did make me excited to continue. But I will say that was the least threatened by it I felt was during that scene. And it, again, the first episode of this show was so hot and how it just took off and just jumped right into kid murder and went crazy. And this just feels like a big cool down. Especially even the second episode got into it a little bit, right? But the third,
second ep still has
the
some
third
scary
has some real
bits,
real cool down. The stakes seem lower. This seems like these kids are going to somehow get away.
That's fine. I'm not bummed out about lowered stakes. We do have to ebb and flow. It can't be episode 1 is super scary and then episode 2 we have an even scarier thing and on down the line.
Sure,
but I know I was thinking a little bit about it in general, because the very first one was the TV miniseries.
Yep.
Which scared our generation when we were very
young. The entire
young.
generation is now afraid of clowns.
But we were very small.
Yep.
I'm sure if our parents watch it, they would be like, you guys are morons. But to us as children, it was extremely scary. And now we grow up to whatever age we are, 29, 60, 65, I don't remember for you. And they make the new movies in, was it 2017 was the first one?
I believe so.
And then the sequel, and they target our generation and try and present us with a grown-up, actually trying to be extremely scary version of it.
Okay.
You were scared when you were 10. Now you're going to be scared again when you're 40. And
if you'd gotten over being afraid of clowns, here we go again.
right, and I'm going to try and meet you at your level and scare you the same way today as we did 30 years ago. It's going to be, we're going to have to present it differently because you're a grown up and you've seen a bunch of stuff. This show now is trying to, at least in the first couple episodes, scare us the way the movies did as grown-ups. And just the big giant set piece of at the end of episode 3 felt very much like the TV show version of it trying to scare us when we were 10.
Yep. Yeah. And I guess the thing I thought, and I guess maybe we'll see it in this next episode, is I was fully anticipating the pictures to start moving. Right? Because we've seen that trick many times by it. He likes to come out of photos and movie theaters and screens. So I just wonder what they're going to do with these photos. Obviously, that's going to be, that'll come into play. It does seem on point for the kind of plan kids would come up with, so I can get behind that. I just expected it to go far worse. And I think that's the part that, as cartoony as the end was, what didn't play like the rest of the episode so far is that the kids keep trying these things and nothing works. And that's kind of that's the flow I expected this TV show to take. Not we're clearly just getting into the rehashing the Losers Club now, where they're just they'll find a way to make this work.
At the end of episode 1, we killed 2 kids.
We did.
And at the end of
3
episode 3, the kids
3 kids
bike around so much better that they can polo around to this camera and the ghost can't stop them. I mean, the ghost got remarkably worse at their job between episode 1 and 3 to allow that to happen.
I guess, yeah, what gets me about it is it's supposed to build the cycle in 28 years always builds where it always starts with some kid disappearing, which we got that. We usually have some sort of event that puts everybody on edge. We got that with the movie theater. And it just seems like we're just going to take a break for a second and we'll just scare some kids for a little bit, but not end any of them. And I don't know. That's the thing about supernatural creature movies that always kind of get to me a little bit is why does he take a break for 3 weeks?
Well, he can take a break and still scary stuff can happen. I mean, in episode 2, nothing really happened from an it perspective. He scared our girl in the grocery store. But it did seem like he was going to eat
Ronnie.
Yeah, but he didn't, and he didn't come close to it, and it didn't end up mattering. But at the end of the day, those were very impressive, very scary scenes that we very much enjoyed. So we can have nothing happen. We can get to the end of the ep, but it doesn't have to look cartoonish, and it doesn't have to look like it. I don't know. The way that I read the scene was that the ghosts honestly did not want to have their picture taken, and the kids outsmarted them. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, especially because if you don't want your ditch, don't show up. Well, and that's the other part, that's interesting about this is that when these groups of kids seem to come together in the later movies, its whole thing is trying to drive them apart to scare them. And they were already driving themselves apart. And if it just never showed up in the graveyard, then the 4 of them never would have hung out again because they would have been upset at them, Yeah. But instead, he's like, let's bring you all together by trying to scare you with ghosts that apparently are just going to chase you but not actually get you, but also pose perfectly for these photos you're going to take.
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I don't know. We'll see if they bring it together in episode 4, but
I'm still in. I'm still excited.
I'm still very much in, but it does sound like we're kind of saying this a lot. Like,
Yep.
hey, once we start actually looking at the writing of the show, there's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't make sense.
I think what kills me about that is it's very specifically, I think this TV show is trying to bring more of Stephen King's lore, larger Dark Tower lore into the It story, and it might be weakening the story.
It might be.
By the way, again, I mentioned this, I've been rehashing the book. The writing is tremendous.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
He does his Stephen King thing every once in a while, but for the most part, the writing is good. I really enjoy it. So
Yeah, there's a reason.
It's good
He's
material.
a very successful
wait, he's
author.
successful?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So other people know of him?
Stephen King?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like,
Stephen R. King?
what's his middle name? Ralph?
No idea. I'm just. Are we talking about the same Stephen King? We're talking about the same Stephen King.
Are you talking Stephen Ralph King? Or are you talking Stephen Earl King?
What is his middle name? We'll find out next week.
Yeah. Tune in.
Tune in.
Tune in next week.
The only way you'll ever find out what his middle name is if you tune in
next week to find out Stephen King's middle name. Stay gold.
Stay golden, Pony Boy.